Today, scientists at the World Health Organization are reporting a steep decline in the global birth rate. 5 years ago, the global birth rate stood near 19 per 1,000 of the total population annually. Today, it was revealed the global birth rate has fallen to its lowest level since global record-keeping began. Scientists have predicted that if the current trend continues, the overall global birth rate will fall below 1 per 1,000 of the total population in less than 10 years. Some say the declining birth rate may fall below this crucial threshold in 3 years or less, citing poor reporting standards in many developing countries. Here, to give us some insight into the situation, is Dr. Ingrid Fleischer of the Malfax Research Institute. Dr. Fleischer.
Thank you. Teams of scientists and researchers so far are at a loss to explain the sudden decline in fertility and subsequent live births. It is not just an isolated incident, but a worldwide phenomenon, with worldwide implications for the very survival of our species. One of the first things that jumps off the page of the latest data is that the declining global birth rate is mapping like an epidemic, the way a virus can and does spread throughout a population. This has given rise to thoughts that the rapid decline in fertility must be caused by a new strain of virus, but so far no virus has been discovered, nor any other environmental factors uncovered that would lead to the same result. Also, the problem, as we see it, seems confined only to the human species. Without exception, other animals are all procreating as usual, with no reported problems in fertility. Laboratory animals are not affected, nor are domestic animals, or those still in the wild. This makes any research into discovering the causes so much more difficult. All tests must be carried out on humans, and so far, the results are not promising. If indeed this loss of fertility is being caused by an active virus, why haven't we seen it yet? If the genetic code of each human has been somehow altered to prevent fertilization, then what is doing the altering? In some circles, there is speculation that perhaps some new family of viruses has been synthesized through interaction of existing viruses with certain genetically modified organisms, perhaps occurring in the digestive tract or elsewhere in the body. Until we identify this new virus, if that indeed is the cause, we will be unable to develop a vaccine to use against it. Because the problem is specific only to humans, there is a general consensus that it therefore cannot be caused by environmental factors, otherwise species close to our own would also be affected. Before the fall-off in live births was noticed, the then average ratio between births and deaths was roughly 2.5 to 1. We have now fallen well below even a 1-to-1 replacement ratio, and as a result, the world population began shrinking about 3 years ago. At this rate, whether it occurs in 85 years or 105 years, the outcome is the same. In the end, the human species faces certain extinction if a solution is not found. Teams of scientists from developed countries around the world are working feverishly to identify the cause or causes, but until they do, it remains entirely possible the present generation of humans alive today will be the last.
It used to be they were worried about the world having too many people. Now this.
Well, you know something? Jeanette and her husband have been trying to have a baby for over 2 years, and they're getting nowhere fast. I wonder if this is why. Today marks the 50th anniversary of the World Health Organization's warning of a steep decline in the global birth rate. In spite of all the work by scientists and researchers over the past 5 decades, no solution has been found for the complete loss of fertility in the human species. The overall world population has been diminished by over 90% since the announcement was made 50 years ago. The impact of this decline has been enormous. Worldwide markets for goods and services have fallen off, with no end in sight. Remaining population masses have congregated in large urban centers due to the extreme limitations in servicing outlying regions. Important manufacturing bases, such as agriculture, the auto industry, clothing, and retail business of all kinds, has been decimated. The former intercity and international transportation network has been severely eroded by lack of traffic and a decaying infrastructure. The decommissioning of ships, trains, and aircraft continues, and many former transportation routes are no longer supported. Healthcare delivery has suffered from a loss of available workers and the aging of existing staff. The real estate house price index has fallen entirely off the table, with a virtual halt to new building starts and a glut of unsold houses on the market. While there are still pockets of scientific research going on, for the most part concentrating on finding a cure to the problem of global human infertility, the mood of the scientific community is decidedly gloomy. As everywhere else, the lack of new minds with new ways of looking at the problem has exacerbated the challenges of new discovery. Since all females alive today are postmenopausal, little hope remains for a breakthrough being implemented, even if one should occur. On a positive note, ocean fish populations are in the midst of a decades-long resurgence, and air quality has improved immensely. Groundwater levels have recovered from earlier droughts, and heavily forested areas are on the rebound. The impetus for warfare seems to have finally departed from the human psyche, as universally the various national, ethnic, and religious factions have turned inward, away from conflict. On the downside, there have been a number of leakage incidents of chemical and radioactive materials which have been poorly contained. Lack of infrastructure maintenance has been blamed, and areas affected have been generally abandoned and are no longer being monitored. Crime rates have fallen with the aging population, and the old prisons stand empty, save for a few centrally located institutions, and even they are sparsely populated. As with all other institutions, the aging staff base has shrunk to the point that decisions must be made soon to close them, or otherwise completely disengage them from their primary original.